There are no art references in Rocky 2, unless you count the tiger print on the back of Rocky's satin jacket, and Rocky 4 takes place mostly in post-Cold War Russia, where creative expression gets you shot. By Rocky Balboa, Paulie seems to have taken possession of Robert's old art supplies and is clearly enjoying the meditative reward of creativity, right up until he's shit-canned from Shamrock Meats and has to lug all the crap to Rocky's restaurant, wherein he steals himself a drink. I'll admit at different stages of my life I've done every one of those. As I said back in round 1, in Rocky 5, Rocky finally learns that the steps he's spent a lifetime running up and down actually lead to the Philadelphia Museum of Art, which may seem confusing if you're a fan of the franchise, because in Rocky 3, there's a dedication ceremony at the top of the steps wherein a massive bronze statue of Rocky is unveiled. Though it is never actually mentioned that behind them is the museum, it seems like something one would have recognized. So either between Part 3 and Part 5, Rocky took so many shots to the head that he was completely gone, or that he was always so thick-headed the organizers simply said, just show up at the steps, Rock. That statue is real, by the way, and it's still at the museum, just not at the top of the steps. It was commissioned for Rocky 3 and created by an artist named Thomas Schomburg, a guy who carved a nice little niche for himself in the art world by translating sports, something he has in common with not only George Bellows, but with the man responsible for the single most distinctive and prominently displayed art piece in the entire Rocky opus. In the final scene of Rocky 3, right as Rocky and Apollo are about to begin their behind-closed-doors infamous third and final deciding one-on-one rubber match, the shot dissolves into a spectacular painting, charged with kinetic energy and a riot of color. This painting shows up again, hanging on the back wall of Adrian's, the restaurant that Rocky opens up in the 6th film, Rocky Balboa, and is still there in Creed. The artist is a guy by the name of Leroy Neiman, one suave motherfucker with a resplendent mustache. That's actually him in Rocky 3, 4, and Balboa. Remember when I said moments happen to us? Well, in the early 1950s, Neiman was working as a freelance fashion illustrator for a department store in Chicago. His early stuff at this time actually reminds me a lot of Grow Out. But it was here he met a skinny copywriter who was on the verge of publishing the first issue of his new men's magazine that he had thought up. That guy? Hugh Hefner. For the next 50 years, Neiman traveled the world on Playboy's dime, covering the most sophisticated of recreational activities.
Although he exhibited consistently and his work was included in the collections of dozens of museums around the world, critical respect eluded him. Mainstream art critics either ignored him completely or, if forced to consider his work, dismissed it with contempt as garish and superficial.
But people love his work. They're drawn to it. It's why he sold so well in his lifetime. Neiman even said,
I get enough applause, but I don't mind the negative things that get said and written about me.
And that right there is my philosophy of the Rocky franchise. I could give two shits what critics say. I will gladly hand over my money. Because by the end of Creed, when he stood up and the Bill Conti theme kicked in, I felt like I could run through a brick wall. And that was movie number 7. One other thing, if Ryan Coogler happens to see this video by some divine act of fate, I just want him to know that if he's looking to have a painting over the credits of Creed 2, I'm available.